Oh, I think DC got its swagger back. Oh! Because we just got our first official reactions to and I want you to put the word out. DC fans, we back up. Because everyone is looking up. And these reactions got me ready to run through a brick wall, man. And I wonder why I keep saying I think I have CTE. But that's not to say it's all sunshine and rainbows, because there are some not so great reviews. But I'm choosing to lead with what that S on his chest stands for. Hope and house hell, but that's another story for another day. Either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. Boom! You looking for this? I'm gonna start off with a person's opinion I hold near and dear to my heart, and that's my glorious king, Alex Coleman. I love you, dog. My brother in Christ. Not only did he give this movie 5 stars and a heart, he said it's cut from the same cloth as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I've heard enough. I need it more than I need hair. But if y'all want to read Alex's full review, go follow him on Letterboxd. Because that man said, I need the whole load now. What do you mean by that? Hold on, is anybody else getting chills? I felt the aura 2 edits ago. Because my guy, Chris, who some of you might know is 3C Films.
Hello, Metropolis.
Said Superman left me with a giant happy dumb grin. David Cornsweet embodies Superman in such a perfect way. This is an actual comic book come to life. James Gunn's DCU feels extraordinary and makes me excited to see more of this world. I have some nitpicks and others will too. Overall, I'm very happy. I'm moist. And that's actually been a common theme amongst all of these reactions, and it's basically David Cornsweet wasn't made to be Superman. He was born to play Superman. This shit means something to me! But I can't just spend all this time glazing. I do have to acknowledge that some people didn't love the movie. Like Andrew J. Salazar over at Discussing Film said Superman is just fine. It's very ambitious in trying to thrust us, what do you mean by that, into a new universe, but there's simply too much going on in Superman's first solo movie. But he did say David and Rachel are amazing, but there's not enough time with them together. I don't know if I like the sound of that. And honestly, for most of these mixed to negative reactions, I feel like I can summarize them by saying it feels like BVS if BVS was Man of Steel. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my head it makes sense. Like, there was a lot of concepts and a lot of ideas and a lot of characters in BVS for where the then DCEU was gonna go, but it really felt like it was just trying to catch up to the MCU. I really hope that's not the case here, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to more reactions, we have the Hollywood Handle, who said Superman perfectly understands what it means to be human. It's a powerful and promising start to the new DCU. The film moves you by revealing the heart behind the cape. Well, I guess it would be in front of the cape, right? Not if we talking about back shots though. Carry on. David is phenomenal, but a huge highlight is how Nicholas Hoult delivers a phenomenal Lex Luthor. Cold, charismatic, and menacing. One of the best DC villains has ever brought to the screen. And on top of that, the score and sound design are out of this world. You feel every note, every impact makes you soar inside. All right, Hollywood Handle, relax. We're not at the poetry slam, but I fuck with you, baby. But this was actually genuinely surprising because Grace Randolph hasn't been the biggest DC fan as of late, or the biggest James Gunn fan as of late. But she said this is the best Superman movie to date. When James Gunn gets out of his way and lets his work speak for itself, it's incredible. Backhanded compliment, but all right. It's not perfect, but darn close, and made me a believer in Gunn's DC. Nah, man, if James Gunn really got them switching sides, I think we're in for a banger. Another person's opinion that I really value is Perry Nemiroff, and she said, Superman made me so damn happy. The movie is loaded with exhilarating action set pieces and well-placed humor and levity, but the beating heart of the film is Superman's humanity and his insistence on doing good and making the world a better place. David Cornsweet brings such an infectious determination and warmth to the role that it makes that pursuit all-consuming and impossibly heartening. Making that an even more robust aspect of the movie, Gunn and Co. don't shy away from exploring the challenges one might encounter when trying to navigate our reality while holding tight to those core values. So what I'm hearing is, just be a good fucking person, stop being a dickhead. But I absolutely love hearing that. We also got Brandon Davis saying Superman is a triumph for the new DC universe, and saying a theme I've heard amongst all of the glowing reviews, it's a comic book brought to life. Brimming with hope and fulfillment, it actually elicited tears of joy from me. Now that's the first time we actually heard tears in one of these. It's a Superman for everyone. And again, David Cornsweet was born to play Superman and Clark Kent. He loved it. Yeah, dog, there's not even a sniff of a doubt that I'm not going to tear up from joy. Now on to Viewer Anon, who is a somewhat reliable scooper. They're saying that Superman is pretty good. There's less of an overarching plot than a series of episodes. Some are great, like Superman versus the Kaiju. Some are not, like Superman having to escape an interdimensional prison. They say this is easily James Gunn's weakest comic book movie, but they still had a whole lot of fun. But now it's time for the main course, dessert. Because for some reason, these big publications don't care about review embargoes anymore, and we have here The Times posting their entire in-depth review of James Gunn's Superman with it titled, James Gunn, Some People Will Take Offense at My New Superman. Now, it's presented as an expose with James Gunn, but they actually give their in-depth opinions throughout this entire excerpt, so let's go through it. Superman is back, and has this divided, destructive world ever needed a more The superhero was created by Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel, American sons of Jewish immigrants who first mentioned the character in a 1933 story about a villain who uses mind-controlling drug to make money and mischief. Fast forward 92 years and we have social media doing just that for us, and a Superman film has rarely felt more timely. The new movie comes to a planet that feels like it could do with a man who has the ability to turn back time. Superman, directed by James Gunn, is a triumph. After a long wait, this is the film the character deserves. In 1978, Richard Donner made us believe a man could fly when he picked Christopher Reeve as Kal-El, the Kryptonian who falls to Earth to become Clark Kent, and despite a superb sequel, the franchise has since been a reboot slog of diminishing returns. Brown and Ruth is forgotten, Henry Cavill is boring, nobody seemed to know what to do with Superman. Until now. I don't know if I agree with the fact that Henry Cavill is boring because I love Man of Steel, I don't care what you think. But anyway, let's move on. I meet Gunn before the gargantuan global push for a film that Warner Brothers needs to make hefty millions, maybe $1 billion. Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy, is the franchise overlord charged with creating an elaborate interconnecting world for DC Comics that will be able to challenge the Marvel Cinematic Universe. DC's kingpins are Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and Gunn is a director who knows we have a superhero fatigue and wants to wake us up again. There are 3 things I don't ever need to see again in a superhero movie, says Gunn. I don't need to see pearls in a back alley. When Batman's parents are killed, I don't need to see the radioactive spider biting Spider-Man, and I don't need to see baby Cal coming from Krypton and a little baby Rocket. We have watched a million movies with characters who don't have their upbringing explained. Like when we see Good Night and Good Luck, we don't need to know the early life of Edward R. Murrow to explain how he became a journalist. Who cares? Finally, somebody who gets it. Gunn's film has Superman, who's played by David Cornsweet, as he looks on the posters from the off, fully formed and stripped for action. He already works at the Daily Planet and dates Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan. The film starts by flinging a bloodied Superman to the ground after a struggle with the minions of Lex Luthor, who's played by Nicholas Hoult. Luthor wants to corrupt people's minds using the internet and start a war to sell some arms. It's frankly very 2025 and also bang on 2 hours long, which comes as a sweet relief when the 3-hour Avengers Endgame exists. My main goal was to make parents spend less on babysitters, Gunn says, deadpan. But I'll always try hard to cut away the fat, and I've never worked as hard on a film as I did on Superman. And how can Gunn make sure his Superman does not go to the way of the recent superhero films that bombed at the box office? Well, it's different to how it used to be, he says. Up until Iron Man, the only superheroes that made money were the big 3. Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Plus the X-Men. But then visual effects improved, so even though people thought Iron Man was a C-tier superhero, the film looked real. It changed everything. And before you say Superman is gone woke, this is all in Superman's lengthy history. Superman was written by men from immigrant families, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees once released a book in Italy titled Superman was a refugee too. Less than 10 years ago, DC Comics backed World Refugee Day. The Man of Steel story is the ultimate example of a refugee who makes his new home better. In the edition of Action Comics number 987, Superman saves a group of undocumented workers from a violent racist. Superman is the story of America, Gunn says, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country, but for me, it is mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something that we have lost. I ask if he has considered how differently the film might play in, say, Blue State, New York, aka Metropolis in Kansas, where Kent grew up. Yes, it plays differently, Gunn admits, but it's about human kindness, and obviously there will be jerks out there who are just not kind and will take it as an offensive just because it's all about kindness, but fuck them. There was a scene in the new Superman with Luthor's monkeys trolling away at screens. Was that, I asked Gunn, alluding to what happened to him? I don't think so, he says, grinning. It's not really about me, but people in general driven by rage or the bots governments pay for that create all sorts of nonsense. This Superman does seem to come at a particular time when people are feeling a loss of hope in other people's goodness, Gunn adds. I'm telling a story about a guy who is uniquely good, and that feels needed now because there's a meanness that has emerged due to cultural figures being mean online. He laughs, and I include myself in this. It is ad infinitum. Millions of people have tantrums online. How are we supposed to get anywhere as a culture? We don't know what's real, and that is a really difficult place for the human brain to be. If I could press a button that could make the internet disappear, I consider it. And no, I don't make films to change the world, but if a few people could just be a little bit nicer, this would all just make me even more happy. But overall, it feels like the consensus is good to great, with only like 1 to 2% of people not liking it at all. But I'm gonna keep it a stack of pancakes with you. I do not care. I will be watching this movie tomorrow to form my own opinion on the film, so stay tuned for my review after watching it. And I encourage all y'all to form your own opinion on any movie you watch. We all have different tastes, and to me, that's what makes us all unique. But it feels like this is a movie that I've been waiting for a really long time, not just for Superman, but just for the times that we live in. I feel like there's just so much hate, vitriol, and just negativity in general, and I'm tired of it, Grandpa. Either way, man, I can't wait for Superman. Let me know what you thought about these reactions down in the comments below, and as always, like and follow for more.